Yo, what's good, YouTube? It's your homie. Yeah, that's a fucking bad fucking dumbass intro. Alright. It's what's my name? Alright, let me check. Oh, it's Rio. My name is not Rio, but I call myself Rio. So, what's up? Second video, right? The same day after tea break. The second video I'm recording. This is my first time as a YouTuber. I'm doing this. Like, need to get some professional vibe, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, so today's a reaction again. Like this is a reacting channel. What you expect from me more than reactions? Huh? Yeah. Today we're talking about reacting to something like that I love to do, but might not do after watching this. You know what I'm saying? Like this is the craziest cave incidents from around the fucking world. So let's get it. Mm, hope you enjoy the video. If you have hyperthon, something like that, the things that scared you, just don't watch it. All right, let's get it, man. Let's get it. Here we go.
The craziest cave rescue missions ever. If you're anything like me, then you guys have spent a lot of time at 2 a.m. watching YouTube. And for some reason, we all end up in the same rabbit hole, watching those insane caving videos. You know, the guys with love
Not gonna lie, like I feel like I'm in there when I watching those videos. Okay, bro, that's like oh
families at home who just decide that they need to shove themselves through 2-inch cracks, 100 feet under the ground, while half underwater and
dumbass. Yeah, dumbass. Like why? What you? Yeah, that's can be uh what's that called? Thrill. You know, say thrill and
covered in
experience.
spiders. And at this point, it's even a meme to make fun of these crazy cave people. All over TikTok, people are just putting shoes over cracks and being like, oh, look at me, I'm a caver, which is honestly hilarious. But in this video, we're going deep. No pun intended. Today, we're discussing rescue missions. But I'm putting a twist on this video. These rescue missions could either be successful or unsuccessful, and you won't know the outcome until the end of the story. So buckle up and don't get too attached to the characters in these stories. Let's begin. Thunder Canyon. This story gets seriously intense and involves a
Okay.
software engineer who went
Yeah, doing something like that, just be safe, bro. Like, don't go alone. You know what I'm saying? If you are doing this, just don't go alone. Go with someone else, someone with someone, and bring a GPS or something like that to track your location. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you lost in the maze, you're never gonna get it out.
on a cave expedition with an experienced group and ended up fighting for his life. Brent Colvin is a 39-year-old software engineer from Valley Center, California. And due to the fact that he was an engineer, he was a very meticulous planner, especially when it came to planning unique adventures. And his trip to Thunder Canyon was no different. It's important to note that Brent is not an unexperienced caver and has been caving for years and is considered by many an intermediate to advanced caver. And the group of cavers he was about to embark on this expedition on were even more experienced than him. Thunder Canyon is a legendary cave for a few reasons. For starters, it's extremely elusive and is not marked anywhere. And it's only known within the caving community. And even learning
No map at all. Said, am I right? No map or the map is
the
here.
coordinates or general location of this cave system
My
is
bad,
more or
my bad.
less of a privilege. That aura for a lot of cavers already is so enticing, but it doesn't end there. The cave itself is dynamic. It's deep, dark, open in some places, wet in some places, tight in some places, and it almost sounds like I'm not describing a cave, but trust me, I am. Personally, it's hard to imagine a cave seeming enticing. However, if caving is your thing, Thunder Canyon had everything you wanted. It was rare, unique, and there was also many ways to approach it, as there was multiple entrances and exits that have been mapped out by other cavers. On Sunday, May 3rd, 2010, Brian and 6 other experienced cavers found themselves en route to Thunder Canyon, which included a short drive down an abandoned dirt road, and then from there, a 2-mile hike to even get close to one of the elusive entrances to Thunder Canyon. After doing some searching, they find one of the entrances at 11 a.m., and the excursion begins. Upon entering this cave, they descend
This is the entrance. I pack my thing, but I'm going back home. If someone like told me like we are going to adventure and yeah, this is the entrance, just come on, bro, go. Like, bro, bitch, pack my things. I'm going home. Okay, I'm going home. Wrap it up. I'm going home.
And shortly after, without a hitch, the entire team clears the first obstacle. However, after this first rappel was a much larger task. It was an 80-foot drop. Now, it's important to note that this isn't just a rappel either. This rappel is a descent into darkness, going through a literal underground waterfall that lands you into a underground puddle of almost freezing cold water. But for cavers, this is all part of the thrill. The guide, Luca, is the first to rappel, and shortly after, the other cavers rappel as well, until they are all safely at their first checkpoint. At this point, it was obvious that some of the cavers were already feeling the pressure of what this cave was about to bring, and the guide even gave everybody an out, saying it's only going to get worse from here, and if you want to get out now. There is about to be tight squeezes, it's only going to get colder, and the trip has just begun. But even with some unsure faces, everybody continued on the journey. After completing a few rooms and rappelling twice more, the group meets their first fissure, aka one of these claustrophobic holes, which was literally named the Terrible Traverse. And it's called that because it takes a right angle into a 9-inch wide crack. A gap so tight that you can't even turn your head. And not only is it tight, the gap is also deep. 200 feet deep from top to bottom. It's important to note that the group reached this fissure at 3 p.m., 4 hours into their caving journey. And this fissure was one of the last things standing in their way before they were at the exit of the planned route. And it was, of course, at this fissure where everything was going to take a terrible turn. The guide of this expedition
It's like you just gonna finish the final level and see in the final boss. You know what I'm saying? Like the big ass boss at the final in the game. Yo, that's man. Nah.
goes through this crack first. Without a hitch, he's done it many times. Next up, one of the least experienced cavers goes through this gap, and he, unfortunately, gets stuck. And not only does he get stuck, but he panics. He had never been pinned like this before and was freaking out, and none of the other cavers were going to be able to help him until he calmed down. However, within 5 minutes, the guide was able to calm him down, and within 10 minutes, the guide and the other cavers were able to pull him through and assist him out of the cave. After that slight hiccup, 3 other cavers in your party make it through this fissure, and it's at that point when the guide takes all of the other cavers out of the group, leaving Brent to cross this fissure all by himself. A reasonable decision because Brent was an experienced caver and had experience in this specific cave. However, Brent hadn't experienced the Terrible Traverse, and this experience would be one that he would never forget. It's important to note that Brent was very nervous about trying this gap, and he didn't even know that the guide had left with the other cavers. So it was simply just Brent and his final buddy behind him in the cave. Regardless, Brent began moving through the Terrible Traverse. One of the biggest challenges associated with this fissure is the fact that you're not just walking through a gap or crawling through a gap. You have to move feet first down the length of the crack, and then angle your body sideways to shimmy along before dropping down a 5
Like, why the fuck you going to a place like that? You guys are literally playing with your life, bro. At that point, like the cave explorers, the mad respect for them. Like they are literally playing with their life at this point. Like the divers. So I watched some of the videos, not this one. I watched some of the videos. I love explore caves, but not this type of shit. Like you know, what I'm saying that the big ass caves that I can actually jump on, jump up. You know what I'm saying? Like not this type of caves that you can't even move head to around.
foot gap where you could then get your footing and squeeze through to the exit. Just to be extra cautious, Brent removed his wetsuit to ensure he had as much space as possible. However, after inserting his body fully into this fissure, he was almost instantly stuck. He could feel the tension of the rocks on his chest. His hips were wedged between the walls, and the only thing supporting his body was his hand. He couldn't move in any direction, and it was at that point when he realized he was stuck. After being stuck for what felt like an eternity, the guide returned, only to notice Brent was stuck. And after 2 hours of their best efforts, Brent was no closer to being free and was actually beginning to slip deeper and deeper down this fissure. Due to the stress of believing that he would not make it out alive, Brent became rather lucid. And the final caver behind him, James, was simply telling him stories to try to keep him awake and conscious. And it wasn't until 6:40 p.m., almost 4 hours later, that the San Bernardino Mountain Rescue Team was actually notified and mobilized to the position. After 7 hours of Brent being stuck, the guide was signaling to a rescue helicopter that was sent, as the initial rescue team that showed up was simply not equipped to help Brent. And although the helicopter
Then they literally call rescue team and they have no equipment for rescue him. What the fuck do you mean, bro? At that point, they didn't even they can't even call the rescue team. Say like somebody needs to rescue them.
Spotted them and help was on the way, it took an additional 4 hours for the helicopter to find a safe place to land and the specialized team to get on site. At this point, there was a very real risk of hypothermia for Brent and compartment syndrome, which is essentially when your chest is compressed for a long period of time, exposing you to the risk of cardiac arrest. Brent dying in his stuck position was a very real situation and was only becoming more and more likely as more time passed. Once the rescue team finally was able to reach Brent within the cave, they explained exactly how severe the situation was, and their first order of business was keeping him as warm as possible, as he had no wetsuit on and his body was trapped between two rocks that were much colder than his body temperature, essentially drawing heat out of his body. The rescuers put heat packs around Brent and even gave him an electrolyte beverage. But with Brent and the final caver, at this point hypothermic, the rescuers had to move quick to save these individuals. As the rescue team began to attempt to move Brent, it was obvious that this was going to be a painful experience, as his ribs were tightly wedged between two rocks, and as he began pulling at his feet, Brent was screaming in pain, and the rescue team even asked Brent if they should stop pulling him, and it's reported that Brent literally replied, "I don't care if you break my ribs, just get me out of here."
Yeah, just bro. At that point, just bro, just wanna get out, bro. What you mean? Like, he really literally wanna get out. Anyone should have tell that. Like, who cares, bro? You don't wanna die, like, so you have to get out from here.
The rescuers used as much leverage as possible to lift the wooden board that bridged the gap in this fissure that was supporting Brent, and they used anchors to try to lift his body to pull him out. And with many failed attempts, they were able to move him 1, 2, 3 inches until they had him in a spot where their only option was to begin pulling his feet and essentially yanking him out of this cave. Brent's condition deteriorated deeper and deeper, and at 3:40 a.m., nearly 15 hours after entering the cave, Brent was pulled free out of the cave and rescued. After Brent was
Oh, you're W the rescue team. No, not W. Oh, yeah, bro, yeah, they took a fucking additional 4 hours just to fly off the helicopter and came to care. Oh, fuck. But the good thing is he's safe, so.
led out of the cave, the final caver quickly squeezed through the fissure without an issue, and the entire team survived this expedition. And after everything was said and done, it took over 13 people to help rescue Brent. I thought I'd start this video on a happy note. Yeah, Brent survived, fortunately, but I could not imagine what that experience would be like. And truthfully, I don't even want to paint a picture because I don't
even wanna know about that because I I never know. I guess we never know. I guess anybody who watching this video that never know. I guess they never know about that fame or something like that.
even want to imagine it. Being stuck sideways, dark, hypothermic, and lucid has to be just awful. And believe it or not, Brent promised himself that he would continue caving after this. Although
Yeah, bro, nothing.
he did say he would avoid tight squeezes, so at least there's that. At least he made it. But that might not be the case for this next story. The Peruvian Intimeche Cave. Cecilio Lopez Tercero is a lifelong caver and adventure lover, and whether it be a natural talent or simply because of his lifelong experience and fascination, Cecilio had a very particular skill for navigating caves and squeezing through extremely tight gaps, seemingly with ease and almost no fear. He is a respected cave explorer, and at the time of this story, he is considered a veteran caver. Cecilio was even a member of the Madrid Rescue Group, meaning that he was more qualified than anybody, not only to save people, but also to explore caves safely. He was one of Spain's most renowned rescuers and cavers. Cecilio was Spanish, but due to his unique skills, he was taken on expeditions around the world to navigate caves that no one else would dare, and to map out caves that no one else could. I think you guys get the idea. This guy was a pro. Cecilio had heard of
Goated. That's why he's the goat. The goat.
this obscure and rare cave system in the mountains of Peru through some of his colleagues. And when he learned that there was a potential for there to be never before seen artifacts or structures, he was instantly on board. And the expedition was set. And Cecilio and 9 of his colleagues began their expedition into the Intimache Cave in the Peruvian Andes. The Intimache Cave was reported to be at least a mile long and at least 1,200 feet deep. And Cecilio was curious how much deeper and longer it was and what secrets were hidden down in the bottom of this cave. Like any professional, Cecilio studied meticulously, learning of all of the risks associated with this cave. With the expedition underway, Cecilio led his group of colleagues into this cave on a multi-day expedition. In the first few days went on without any issues. Notes were taken, beautiful sights were seen, and everything was going to plan. But as they got deeper and deeper into the cave, the squeezes only got tighter, and the map only got more vague.
Like,
After multiple days
I'm just asking, okay, that can't they the that like break those squeeze ties for like make them bigger or something like that, drill them or something like that? Like, I'm just asking, I'm curious about it, like, or that they just want to protect the natural shape of the tide or something like that. I'm
in
just
this
asking.
cave, the challenging physical aspect was obvious and accounted for, but the mental aspect was starting to take a toll as well, as these people at this point had been in complete darkness for days, only seeing the light of their headlamp. And the cave that they are hundreds of feet into is completely silent, only broken by the sounds of water dripping. It wasn't until what would have been one of the last days of the expedition that tragedy struck, and it was during a rappel portion of the cave. Cecilio was about to descend a modest 15 meters into the next room, known as the 13 Days Room. And it was at this point, after the anchor was set and he began rappelling, that he heard a cracking noise. His anchor had failed, and Cecilio was in a free fall, falling 15 meters onto hard rock.
Oh hell, 15 meters drop for a hard drop. That's like 5-story building drop or 3-story. But I'm gonna say like it's really high, okay? It's a 3-story building drop, you know what I'm saying?
Cecilio somehow avoided all of the razor-sharp rocks covering the floor of this room. However, he lied there motionless, in extreme pain, and with a suspected broken back. After regaining consciousness, Cecilio came to the harsh reality of his situation. He lied helpless, deep in a cave that was already in an extremely remote and treacherous location, 400 miles away from Lima, Peru. He knew he needed to be rescued.
His team not with him, like he went there alone, right? That's why I'm saying like don't go alone, bro. If there is has a risk, you know what I'm saying? If there's a risk that it might take your life, that don't go alone there. Even though you are pro or something like him, you know what I'm saying? Like the things happen, you never know.
But he also knew it was not going to be easy. One of Cecilio's colleagues carefully climbed down to where Cecilio was to assess the situation and realized how grim it was. One of the cavers in this party left to get help, and the others stayed with Cecilio to help monitor his health. Fortunately, Cecilio survived a fall that could have easily been fatal for some. However, now he has to survive what would likely be the most grueling days of his life, as after he fell and sustained these injuries, it would take almost a week for rescue personnel to make it to where Cecilio was. Keep in mind, Cecilio was in
A week. Bro, it's in danger, bro.
a deep, remote cave located on the top of a mountain, where the entrance of the cave was at over 10,000 feet in altitude. When this medical team finally was able to find the location of the cave, hike over 10,000 feet to the cave entrance, and then begin the wild journey to where Cecilio was in the bottom of this extremely advanced cave, they weren't even there to help him escape. They were simply there to provide comfort measures and assess his health. They built a makeshift base camp and began administering morphine to provide comfort to the injured man that the medical team didn't know if they'd be bringing out dead or alive. Because Cecilio was still alive, removing him was going to be an extremely complicated feat, and they couldn't simply drag him back.
Bro, that the tide he called first, like it can be hard. That's squeeze him out, you know, say might be
By his
bad.
feet, and he, unable to feel his legs, was unable to help himself as well. The medical team brought a rigid stretcher that was specifically designed to help carefully drag Cecilio out without jolting or repositioning his body, risking injuring him even worse. With medical measures in place, it was up to the other cavers to request specialized help. And initially, the Spanish government was unwilling to send a rescue team, and then they turned to the Peruvian government, both of which who denied to send help to save Cecilio's life. Cecilio's colleagues did the only thing they could do. They reached out to the Madrid Caving Society society, and also turned to social media, begging for support to help save their dear friend's life. They did everything they could to pressure the Spanish government into saving one of their most valuable cavers. Now, this is where things get interesting. Once some of Cecilio's friends from back home caught news of this, they immediately flew to Peru to help save them themselves. That is real friendship. And by the
W friend right there, right? W friends.
time these amazing friends were on the scene, there was already a small village at this cave entrance, consisting of medical staff, rescuers, and volunteers. Don't forget, this cave entrance is extremely remote and over 10,000 feet in altitude. It's not an easy place to be. And once again, keep in mind that this cave is extremely advanced, and many of the volunteers and rescue personnel that were dispatched are simply
Like who built these caves? The ancient people or something like that build this cave, or just that naturally? Like how this is built in naturally? You know what I'm saying? Like someone has to dig it, right? Like can be built naturally.
not equipped for this level of cave, and it would be only more of a liability for them to even attempt to save Cecilio. By the time that this rescue mission was fully underway, there was volunteer cave experts from Spain, France, Mexico, Peru, and over 40 Peruvian firefighters and military personnel actively involved in the rescue of Cecilio. And yet, there was still major challenges that took place. These 40 people need to eat, drink, they need to communicate with others, meaning that all of the progress that they're able to make is delayed significantly due to their lack of supplies, only adding more and more complexity to this seemingly impossible rescue mission. With this global team of experts on site ready to help Cecilio, they began the exploration into the cave. And once they reached Cecilio, they even explained their plan to him and got his professional insight on the escape that they had planned. And then they built a base camp 900 feet into the cave and began to set a complex series of anchor points across the entire cave so that they could essentially hoist the stretcher with Cecilio on it without him taking much more damage. On the 12th day, when they began drawing the stretcher out of the deep,
He was in there for 12 days. Oh man. Nothing like bro, like
cave, things took a turn for the worse, as on this day, winds were higher than normal. The weather was unfavorable, and rain was adding an entirely new level of complexity into this rescue mission. Despite the heavy winds, a rescue helicopter was able to take the freshly rescued Cecilio to the nearest hospital, where he was treated, and after many months of treatment, he amazingly made a full recovery.
fuck yeah. I thought bro was gone. I thought bro was gone. Yes, that's what I'm telling you. Like, be safe here, man. You have like, don't do stupid shit. Like, be safe. Bring the right equipment. You know what I'm saying? Don't buy cheap AliExpress stuff. Oh man, that's good. He's safe, bro. Whew. And the W friends, so like the friends flew off, came. Friends came to help you. Like, you need to make friends like that.
The case of Cecilio Lopez is literally insane, and honestly a bit heartwarming to see how passionate people were about saving this man's life, likely because of all of the lives that Cecilio impacted during his time.
Yeah. Bro, save hundreds of lives. Might be bro, save hundreds of lives, and like people need to repay it. You know what I'm saying? Like, people need to repay it.
Time as a rescuer himself. If it wasn't for nearly 50 people from across the globe, not to mention local volunteers and
Yeah, shout out to those people. Like, the people are quite good. You know what I'm saying? Like, those people are, might be bro found the good friends. You know what I'm saying? The only thing, like, the social media power, and also that, did you see? Yeah.
villagers in the area, Cecilio would have never made it out of this cave and simply would have died. Call it luck or call it karma, Cecilio had something or somebody watching over him. Cecilio is a gangster, and the story is a clear example of how resilient the human body and mind can be.
Yeah, bro. bro, I like this.
But we still have one more to discuss, the Chilean miner rescue.
Yeah,
This
big one,
rescue
big
mission
one,
is
big
by
one, big
far the most intense we've talked about on this list, and is likely one of the most intense cave rescue missions ever conducted. As the title suggests, this rescue mission isn't of cavers who went down a deep, crazy, uncharted cave. This rescue mission is rescuing miners working
the like the lot like that job mining. It's like a risk. It has big risk. You know what I'm saying? Like, but shout out to miners. Like they do a damn good job and they put their life on the job. You know what I'm saying? You never know. Just the tunnel collapse. You fucked up. You know what I'm saying? But I hope these people are safe.
in a gold and copper mine. And unfortunately, what started as a regular day in the job ended up becoming a multi-month global affair. Let me explain.
Multi-month. So like like months. You know what I'm saying? Months like
On
months,
August
you know what I'm
5th,
saying?
2010, 33 miners entered the San Jose cave in Chile. But that night,
How much?
33 miners entered the San Jose cave in Chile. But that night, none of these miners leave that cave. The San Jose cave is over 100 years old and it stretches over 10 miles of confusing corridors.
For like for down, right? It's stretch stretch for like uh, down, right? 10 miles down to the earth core, you know.
Some of these mine shafts go almost a mile deep into the
Oh,
ground,
deep.
but for these miners, this was a normal day at work. And shortly after 2 a.m., a collapse had happened, leaving these miners trapped. The San Jose mine, which was owned by the San Esteban Mining Company, was known for its notoriously unsafe work conditions, and the company had reportedly even ignored warnings from the Chilean Safety Administration. And unfortunately, today was the day that what the Chilean government had warned about would happen. After hearing a huge rumbling noise and literally feeling the earth shake below them, these miners, unaware that they have just
Like these people didn't care about people's life at that point. Like they didn't even care about the warnings. Like, bro,
been trapped, decide that they should likely exit the cave to evaluate what just happened. And it's on their way out of the cave that these miners realize that there was collapse. And not only a small collapse, but a large collapse caused by a 45-story tall piece of diorite.
One 180 meters tall. A fucking stone is blocking away, block your way. Oh, that's pretty dang crazy.
Rock, blocking the only way in and out of the cave. This piece of diorite was almost 1,000,000 tons and fell directly onto the mine shaft. Fortunately, leaving the mine wasn't the only option for these miners, as near the very bottom of the mine was a man-made room known as the refuge. And after realizing that they weren't leaving this mine, all of the miners gathered up and made their way to the refuge. The refuge is exactly how it sounds. It's an emergency shelter area. Fresh air is strategically pumped into this room from the surface and is also stocked with emergency food.
Like, can't they just jiggle a escape room or something like that for up? I'm just saying, like, it's like, uh,
and medicine. This room was meant for this exact situation, and in this case is going to be the difference between life and death. Because the mine is so massive, men working near the very bottom of the cave still at this point were completely unaware of what happened, and one of the miners had to go down to inform them what had happened and bring them back up to the refuge. These 33 miners weren't just all mining together, they were all in different parts of the cave when this happened. However, they all survived the collapse, and it didn't take long for them to all be gathered up in the safest place in the cave. Some of the miners remembered that the ventilation system that pumps pumps fresh air into different parts of the cave is, by regulation, supposed to be large enough to carry a person. It also should have a ladder inside for situations like this. Unfortunately, after further inspection, it was discovered that these ladders were never installed, and that these air pipes were simply useless for escape. And in their opinion, they have no way of contacting the surface. And at that point, things look grim. During this collapse, there was actually one miner who was in a part of the cave that was above where the collapse was, meaning that he was able to escape. Making his way through ash and rubble, he was able to tell the site supervisors exactly what happened and begin what would end up being a multi-month-long rescue mission. Due to the remote nature of this cave and the lack of any cell service, it took over 5 hours from the collapse happening for any authorities to even be notified of the situation. Unlike the last one, the government was willing to help these people, and they sent a specialized team down the mine shaft to see exactly what was going on. The specialized team decided to take the ventilation shafts down into the mine because they are able to rappel down and do not require a ladder. Although roughly halfway down this ventilation shaft, it is made very obvious that these ventilation shafts were unstable due to the collapse and that they would not be a method of rescue. And on their way back up, some rescuers were almost lost in another smaller collapse that took place within one of the ventilation shafts. And those on the surface still don't even know if the people in the cave are alive or not. After the miners return to the refuge with grim news about the ventilation shaft, the group of miners begin to plan for the worst. And it's at that point when they begin rationing the very small amount of supplies they have, and also begin to set out a routine, as these experienced miners understand that this rescue, if at all possible, will not take days, but likely weeks or longer. While it may seem like these miners are creating their own little community underground, kind of like a fallout shelter, an entirely new city is popping up on the surface of this mine, consisting of concerned citizens, volunteers, and most importantly, family members of those stuck in the mine. After days being stuck in this mine, the miners are unsure if anybody is ever going to come save them, until a noise is heard, a faint drilling noise from above. And they realize that help is on the way, and that somebody is drilling into the mountain. The team drilling above correctly assume that the surviving miners are going to be residing in the refuge. And it's for that reason that they aim a drill from the surface directly to the refuge. And a new
That's what I'm saying. Like they might build it before this type of shit happened. You know what I'm saying? Like they might build it before this happened.
challenge appears, accurately setting up the drill to ensure that it reaches the refuge. Because even being a percentage of a percent off on the surface, by the time they reach the depth of the refuge could be multiple feet off, meaning that they need to completely reset and re-drill once again. To ensure that this rescue mission goes as smoothly as possible, the Chilean government not only acquires the support of other larger mine rescue teams, but also contacts NASA for consultation to ensure that they are taking the best possible course of action. While a team of experts is ensuring that the drill is put in the perfect position, another group of rescuers try accessing the ventilation shafts once again to ensure that they are completely impossible to save the miners. And unfortunately, it's confirmed. And not only did they confirm that the ventilation shafts are useless, they also confirmed that the diorite rock is still moving. Meaning that not only was there a large cavern that the diorite rock fell from, creating a ton of unstable ground in the cavity that it left, but it also means that this large rock that is now blocking the path is also still unstable and moving, while only slightly. Unfortunately, the drilling isn't going much better. And at this point, the drill has bent and broken multiple times, and the rescue holes that they've started have been abandoned twice.
Who made the drill? Drill estate order from AliExpress, I think. Like you had a fucking rescue mission, and yeah, didn't even have a good drill. Like what the fuck, bro?
And due to the discovery of the diorite rock moving, the primary entrance of the cave has been closed and sealed forever. Now meaning that the only way of saving these miners is by successfully digging a 2,000-foot hole that spans from the surface perfectly into the refuge without collapsing. At this point in the story, we are 14 days into these 33 men being trapped underground, and we are still only just getting started. The head of this rescue mission made an executive decision. They are not going to drill faster, but they're going to drill slower. They begin re-drilling, but turn the drill to half speed to ensure that the drill does not malfunction or break course, as accuracy in this situation is paramount. It's already been proven that trying to rush this drilling would only take longer due to all the possible and likely failures. And it's at this point when things get crazy.
I need to get YouTube Premium.
17 days since the collapse, the slow drilling procedure has been semi-successful, and while the drill breaks through into something they don't know what they had broken through to. And as they remove the drill to insert a camera to inspect where the drill ended up, they noticed that the drill had something attached to it. There was a note attached to it. A note from the miners below. They had contacted them. And to those above, this was the first confirmation that there was any living miners stuck in this cave. The letter described exactly where the drill had broken through in the mine, and also was a personal letter to members of the family from the miners, as they were still completely unsure if their fate was sealed or not. The last thing written on the note is the most important of all. It is a simple confirmation that
So they break through the refuge, right? So can't they just get out? I'm confused.
all 33 miners are alive and well. And this brings the morale of all rescuers to an all-time high. But the job is still not over yet. Like, just think about it. Imagine 17 days ago, over 2 weeks ago, you are told that your family is dead in a mine and that your father, brother, uncle, cousin was in a gold mine that collapsed and that they are dead. And if the collapse didn't kill them, then being underground for 17 days definitely did. But then all of a sudden getting confirmation that not only your loved one, but everybody's loved one is alive in this mine. That has got to be the most intense roller coaster of emotions. Now that they have a hole that goes directly to the refuge, they drill 2 more. One for supplies and one that is intended to be used for rescue. The miners underground now have communication to the surface through a phone that was dropped down one of the supply holes. They have food, medicine, and water provided to them through one of these holes. And while things look amazing, they are still trapped underground. From day 17,
But unless they have something, say that they have something to eat and drink, and they can be underground until the rescue team come, say like I think they might be rescued. Might
till
not, I
day
hope.
65. Drilling continues to make a large enough hole to take people out of the refuge, and development continues on a pod that will be sent down this hole and retrieve these people. Essentially an elevator-like tube that can take one person at a time in and out of the cave. And on day 65, both of these new tools are put into place. There is a hole that is wide enough to take people in and out of the refuge, and an experimental device created by the Chilean Navy with support from NASA is ready to be tested. It's a metal tube that can be dropped and retrieved out of the cave, and it's now officially going to begin its first test run. A rescuer bravely enters this pod and descends down into the mine. Unsure if this pod will even make it down to the bottom of the mine safely, or even if it does make it safely, if it's able to go back up. However, a rescuer is required to descend with the pod to give proper instructions on how to safely use it and to give some support to those who have been underground at this point for 65 days. The first miner, who is already pre-selected by the group, enters the pod and makes his 15-minute journey up through the pod, and without a hitch, makes it to the surface successfully and safely. The first of these 33 miners to see the surface for over 2 months. Throughout the night, all 33 of these men were taken to the surface safely, where thousands of people stood by for the rescue, and
Hell yeah, baby. That's what I'm talking about. Like, come on. Yes, we won't learn. No dead encounter. No dead. And no nothing in this video, so I like it.
millions of people were watching worldwide on TV as this rescue was broadcasted globally. All of these men were deemed in good physical condition, and they were all instructed to wear sunglasses because they had been in essentially darkness for 2 months, and the sunlight could be harsh on their eyes. All of the men visited the hospital to ensure their vitals, and only 2 of them weren't instantly released. The 2 that weren't instantly released required either dental or some psychological help, both of which had those addressed successfully as well. This entire rescue mission was insane, and the fact that these men were able to survive for so long proves their mental and physical resilience.